It's getting harder and harder to write bad Livewire code. Usually, if you're writing Livewire code, you have to be consciously thinking, okay, what kind of code is actually being rendered, is being run on the server, and then what kind of code is actually being run on the client? When am I writing client-side code, and when am I writing server-side code, and when should I be writing client-side code versus server-side code? In this case, when should I be using Alpine.js versus Livewire? But the new update to Livewire, Livewire v 3.6.0, Caleb Porzio has kind of invented, I guess, a new way to write JavaScript within Livewire. And I actually haven't gotten the chance to check it out just yet, so that's why I'm making this video, to be able to say, okay, here's all the new things that are in Livewire 3.6.0, but here's all the things that make it that much easier to write just better Livewire code. So why don't we do that together? I think the way to write Livewire has changed. But before we dive into that, why don't we check out our sponsor for this video? I'm always trying to find a way to learn new skills or programming languages without taking up too much of my time. Cody, found at cody.tech, that's CODDY.tech. It's kind of like a Duolingo for programming, where it's engaging, it's fun, they're bite-sized lessons, super quick to do, and I can even take it on the go, like on my phone, for example. It's made up of journeys and challenges, where if I want to learn C# or Rust, for example, it kind of takes you step by step. The platform pretty much has everything you need to complete the lessons right there in your browser, and I love that each lesson is kind of text-based and then has a challenge that you need to complete. And the good thing is everything is really quick. Like I said, I use it on my phone before I go to bed, so that way I can just learn something new. In this case, I'm learning C# and Rust. And the neat thing is everything is gamified, so I have an incentive to keep coming back to the platform, but really it just feels good to be able to check something off my list, especially when I'm laying in bed at night and wanting to keep my brain fresh. Cody.tech is the first thing that I've been turning to. You can find it for yourself and check it out at cody.tech. That's CODDY.tech. I've been kind of busy with the latest releases from the Laravel team, with the launch day happening last Monday, which means I didn't get the chance to really play around with all of these new features that came out with Livewire 3.6. And there are a bunch of them. So why don't we dive into them together and see which ones are going to change how we write Livewire, and more importantly, how is it going to change how we think about how to write Livewire. In this case, I think a lot of these things really just have the ability to help you stop thinking of Livewire in just server-side interaction, and more about, okay, it's all of the features, all of the code that you need to have beautiful client-side pieces as well as server-side interaction. So, JS. This JS, I think that kind of already existed, but I could be wrong in terms of what might have changed there. Wire text, wire show, wire transition, wire cloak. These look familiar if you're used to Alpine.js, because there's X text, X show, X transition, and X cloak, but now it's just Livewire. So it's not Alpine.js anymore. So what does that mean for us? Am I a professional Alpine code person now? I don't know. But yeah, let's go ahead, and I'm going to read the Laravel news article to kind of walk through all of this, but I'm going to link Caleb's tweet in the description below as well. But in the Laravel news article, 3.6 release, some JavaScript actions added support for defining JavaScript actions, which are JavaScript functions that can be called from wire, click, or wire. Either run client-side code only, or to apply optimistic updates before triggering a server request. This is the cool thing. He actually put out a kind of blog, an email newsletter before creating this Livewire 3.6 update, saying, hey, this is the new way to write Livewire. A script block underneath for any kind of client-side stuff, and then you have all of this up on top. And it kind of evolved in a really short time. He's a wizard into this. JS do something, but then you just have wire click do something. So you're calling JS and not a wire method. The first thing I see here is I'm curious, so we'll play around with this right now, but I'm curious if I had a public function do something and a wire click do something, which one would it call? Would it default to client side first and then this? Let's see. So I have this right here. Let's just say we have I think I have Flux here because it's the new, we'll just say wire do something. I just want this to do something. All right, and so then here I want a script, oops, and I want end script, and in this script, I want the ability to do something. Why don't I just actually, instead of typing this all out, why don't I actually just copy the code? That would probably make it a little bit easier. I'm just gonna copy all of this. We'll just copy all this right here. Yeah. There we go. I already wrote the rest out. So we'll just copy this right there. Perfect. JS do something. But if I had a public function do something up here, which happens first? Do something or like the actual console.log. Let's see. Gotta call composer dev. I need to register because I put this on the dashboard. All right. Do something. Click. Okay, DD first. Did it actually console log? Let's see. Console. Okay, so it looks like server first. It's probably like if I was to, let's go to the docs. I'll open something, the docs up in a new tab. We'll say JavaScript. I'm pretty sure this is where it is. JS increment. Okay, but in the docs, he has this $JS dot, but in the, at least in the Livewire news thing, it looks like I can just call wire click on this. Let's see what the, let's see what this one, my favorite one is JS. Okay. So I think this is the correct way of doing it. The Laravel news might be incorrect right here, or maybe, maybe I'm doing something wrong. But let me go ahead and let's try it out. So if I was to remove this public function, do something, do we still have that automatically being called? Do something? No, it does not exist. Okay. So it needs to be JS dot do something. Okay, so now we have refresh. Bam, do something in the console right there. I'll bump that up. I still think this is super neat because when you are, again, when you're thinking about how am I writing better Livewire code, most of the time people who complain about, hey, Livewire is not good at X, Y, or Z, most of the time it's because you're thinking of Livewire as a sole server functionality, sole server interaction, instead of thinking of it as I only need to go to the server when I actually need to go to the server. But now there's these primitives to say, okay, maybe I do need to go to the server eventually, but it'd be nice to do something on the client first instead of waiting for a return from the server. And you could do, don't get me wrong, all of this stuff that we see here in Livewire 3.6 release, all of this stuff you could have done previously. It was just kind of, you would do it within Alpine, and then you would call Livewire within an Alpine function. Now this just makes it, and I could be wrong on this again, but I'm pretty sure all of this is just a neat wrapper to make it feel like you're not writing JavaScript. You're writing these neat wrapped primitives and being able to do things on the client. So if for something I want to, now I can call wire dot, was a wire call? Let's see, wire, I just called the actual method. So if we say public function from server, dd hi from server. So if I should be able to, I always forget what it is in JavaScript anymore. It's not sleep. Is it sleep? Can you sleep in JavaScript? It's not sleep. Is it wait? Wait. 1,000. And then we should be able to call wire dot from server. Is it a function or is it just a method? Okay, it's a function. So that should be correct. Refresh, do something. Wait is not defined. Is it not? Wait. All right. It's late and I wasn't fully thinking of the actual JavaScript method to be able to do this. It is set timeout, not sleep. I don't know what I was thinking. I've been writing PHP too long now. Set timeout. So if we do, wire from server, we essentially can do things like being able to optimistically set something. So what we could do, I believe, is we could say, let's just say during this time, we have a specific timeout. We want to, well, first we want to wire, and this is where I think we can change the text of something without making a round trip. We could say wire, so if we have a public string of messages hello world, I think what we could do, let's say we have a span with wire text equals message, then here we could say wire dot message equals hello from JavaScript, and then call the from server method. What this should be doing is we shouldn't necessarily hit a round trip to the server. This wire.message changing the wire text should all happen client side, I believe, if I'm understanding everything correctly. So do something, okay, hello from JavaScript, and then hi from server. Okay, so let's take a look at the network. So I'm going to clear this out, refresh, clear it out just to be safe. Okay, do something. Yeah, no network request. Hello from JavaScript, hi from server after 1,000 milliseconds. Oh man, this stuff is so neat because now we get to do, I wonder what am I getting here? Oh, it's because I died and dumped. That sounds so weird if I just say I DD'd or, the things we do as PHP developers. But the thing I really love about this, specifically the wire text with the JS call, is now I'm going to even think about, okay, how would you do this previously? Well, you would say like X on, or just like you would do like the Alpine version of a click instead of wire click. And then you would actually have to write out the function here within Alpine data. And then the text is even crazier because then I would have to make sure that the text is set, and then maybe I want to entangle it, because then I'm curious if, that's very interesting. I'm curious of like, if this changes it on the server then, if I'm updating something, does that make sense? If I change something here and then I want to, die and dump the text, the updated text on the server. So if I was to die and dump this message, is it going to be the updated message? Is this bundling it and then updating it on the server? So you could do things like, wire text for forms, possibly, where you could optimistically update something. You could change, let's say you have the wire text of a to-do, and when you click to add a to-do, you could have that wire text actually populate, but still be saved to be sent to the server. I think this should work, and it's crazy that it does. So I have hello world is the message that's going to be DD'd going to be hello world or from JavaScript? Do something, hello from JavaScript. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. This just makes this kind of stuff so easy, because you don't have to worry anymore about, okay, how am I keeping things in sync on the server and the client? You don't have to worry anymore about how am I going to, make sure that I'm not leaking anything on the client, or just keeping something on the client and then doing some weird entangling stuff. I'm pretty sure this kind of negates having to ever do wire.entangle ever again, because most of the time when you're doing something like that in the past, let me kind of pull it up. And I believe Caleb had already kind of said that this was kind of not needed now with wire, but it was still needed in some specific cases because you wanted to keep values in sync between Alpine client and server Livewire. But here you have, okay, yeah, all of this is not necessary anymore. One, we now have wire show. We haven't gotten to that yet, but now we have new HTML directives. We already kind of touched on wire text, but now we also have wire show to be able to say, I want to change something on the client without having to send a server request. This is crazy. We have X on click. I think that's still necessary. So now we have the wire show model. So we still need the X on click. We can't do a wire click, I don't believe. Let's see what the tweet says as well for wire show. Can call JS methods from the server. It might not be set up here. Let's go ahead and look at the documentation. We have show, wire show. Okay, basic usage to toggle a create post modal. Yeah, so X on click. And so what you would have to do previously would just have this data live in Alpine. But why wouldn't you want that? Why would you want something on the server? Well, let's say, like, this is a great example of it. If you want to save something, but then close the modal because that state lives on the server, and now you're sending a server request and then sending it back, before you would have to change it on the client and then send the server request. It was complicated. Not terribly complicated, but it was complicated enough where you were like, hey, doing something like this means I just have to only do it in Alpine and then, send a JavaScript back. And I believe this JS, let's see, the JS, JavaScript, using JavaScript and Livewire components, I believe that this JS already existed, and I could be wrong on that. I have a video kind of talking about it that I'll put up there in the corner. But I believe this kind of already existed, but now it just makes a lot more sense. Because before it was like, okay, what are you actually going to do here? But now it's, okay, I'm already sending stuff from the client to the server and keeping it in sync, entangled, and now it just makes it easier. So for stuff like this wire show. So if I was to, I'm just going to grab all this and then we'll go ahead and paste this in here. So I don't even have to use any script tag here. That's crazy. I like that. It's cool that I can just write JS.something. I like that. Like it's just a function. I could technically make this, can I make it async? That's interesting. Probably. But yeah, so if we have a public, let's do public show model equals false. And then we have save, which basically like it does something and then just says this show modal equals false. We could even say like this JS, and we can say console.log. Saving. There we go. Is it a string? Okay, yeah. So Caleb even shows the async await, where you can have celebrate async, and then you're going to await wire.log celebration. That's pretty crazy too. So like you're doing all this asynchronously, sending it to the server and doing the optimization stuff that you need. This stuff is so good. You people who are just getting into Livewire don't know how easy you have it right now. This is awesome stuff. Does he mention this JS anymore? Okay, yeah. So this JS, so you can call specific JavaScript functions from this JS. I think that would probably be the new thing now. Before you could call console.logs and stuff like that, but now you can actually just call JavaScript functions itself. So we could say like this JS, I don't know, do something, and then this could just be a console.log doing something. Okay, so this should theoretically work. We'll pull open our browser here. Okay, new post, the modal comes up. save post, closed it, doing something. Okay, great. It's hard to see because I don't have it as a actual button, but we'll do like flux button just to show. Flux button, perfect. And then this will be flux text area. I think that's a thing. Flux text area. Flux button. Flux button. Do new post. Hi there. Save post. It closes the modal. It says doing something in the JavaScript. And then we should technically only have one network request. So we'll clear the network. New post should not make a network request. See? Doesn't make a network request. And we probably could even say wire.showModal equals like the opposite of wire show modal. That should be a thing. Does that work? Yeah. That's sick. No network requests. So clearing, no network requests. So essentially you're writing Alpine, but without having to have the data. So previously you probably would have had to do x-data, or you could technically entangle this element and then have it be like that. Again, I kind of go over a lot of this in previous videos because it was a little bit harder to kind of grok, to understand, to say, okay, what should I be doing on the client? What should I be doing on the server? And now it's just easy. This x-on click is saying I am doing a client-side click, but I'm setting state from the server. Absolutely crazy. Where now you have like the wire click to say I want to call something JavaScript, and then you automatically know this is JavaScript. It's as simple as that. Okay, what's new? I'm getting too tight of the weeds. It's gonna be a longer video than I expected to have. Okay, we have the new HTML directives: wire show, wire text, wire transition. Is wire transition new, or is it just like kind of wrapping? So transition. Showing or hiding content in Livewire is simple. Okay, wire transition. So we have if show contents, button wire click, set show contents to true. So yeah, let's take a look at this. So if we have this div here, and then we have a public we won't even show the post. We just have show comments. So we're just saying div wire transition, and we'll just say comments here. Perfect. So if I take a look here, what we're doing is we want to show comments, click show comments. Are we making a network request? I believe so. We probably have to, right? Yeah. So like this is enabling something, but now we have transitions for these requests. This was a thing before, was it not? Wire transition? I could be wrong. Let's see. Does Caleb say it's a new wire transition? What am I remembering wrong? I thought the wire transition was a thing, but maybe it was a thing and then it was kind of taken away and then it came back. If you know, let me know in the comments, because now I'm second guessing myself as to what I actually thought was already existing in Livewire. I know wire cloak is X cloak, I would imagine, but for Livewire. But I thought wire transition was already a thing. Or like wire. I thought I had done this in some videos. I could be, again, I might be losing my mind. I don't know. Yeah, so we have default. You can customize the transition style. I thought this already existed, but maybe it exists in a different state now. Okay, and then finally we have wire text, wire cloak. Let's take a look at wire cloak. A directive that hides elements on page load until Livewire is fully initialized. Flash of unstyled content. Okay, very interesting. Because we already kind of looked at these wire show directives. So let's say you're doing something on the client side to show or hide these particular elements. Wire cloak, very similar if you have ever used xcloak directive. It's great to say, okay, I don't want to even show this until I know for sure that it should be shown. This is not as common. So I'm not probably going to use this one as much as I am going to use like the JS and this JS. I think that's really the one that I'm going to be using the most, is being able to have a button and on that button immediately call something from JavaScript to say, hey, JS dot do something. This is just incredible to me, to be able to now write JavaScript more cleanly in Livewire, to be able to say, okay, now I have this button, and in my console log, we should be able to see we're doing something. We're not sending a network request, but now I have the ability to call server-side functions even asynchronously from this JavaScript function without having to do all of this magic of making sure it's connected to the button and then, actually like creating a specific JavaScript function for it. It just makes it feel a little bit more like Livewire. And that's really what I think all of these features come down to at the end of the day. All of them, again, I could be wrong in assuming this, but all of them could have been done previously. But they weren't necessarily easy to do in a lot of ways. And I think this just gives you the ability to write JavaScript in Livewire and server and client-side functionality a lot easier. Not having to, or blurring the lines more in order so that you cannot mess things up even more. So let me know, what is your favorite new feature within Livewire 3.6? Is there something I missed? Is there something I'm misunderstanding, especially maybe within that wire transition? But overall, I'm excited for the future of Livewire. I'm excited for the future of Laravel. I'm excited for the future of JavaScript developers and PHP developers who are realizing there's some cool things to learn from each side of the aisle. So whether you're writing Livewire, whether you're writing Vue, React, keep building, keep creating.